All right, hey everybody. The show that I'm gonna try and pitch would be titled Stay at Home, and it would loosely be based along the lines of television shows like The Office and Parks and Rec. So, it would be like a comedic mockumentary in a lot of ways. So, in this show, it would follow the lives of a group of individuals through their transition from working in an office setting to trying to conduct and run a business from home during a time of quarantine. So, while trying to work from home, we could have the family members of each individual make appearances and show how the family dynamics and the decision making and personnel or the family dynamics affect the decision making and the personalities of all the characters. I think that this show is incredibly culturally significant right now with everything that's going on. I mean, the truth is that everybody's going through an incredibly difficult transition currently, and while it's easy to separate work and home when you're actually leaving to go to work, it's a lot harder to do that when you're taking business meetings or having classes in your living room. I would really want this to be comedic at heart, but I also want it to have like the same levels of sincerity that The Office possesses. So, similar to the video we watched, like David Foster Wallace said, the postmodern irony doesn't provide solutions to problems. And I think that, uh, and he expects the route to change from non genuine to sincere. And I think that that would be a good route that I would want to follow. I think that's part of what made The Office um, so popular. So, following Barth's theory of a narrative, I think that every episode could and should follow a different enigma and problem, rather than like one constant enigma that's solved throughout an entire season. I think that it should be solved throughout an individual uh, episode. So, like I said, since the genre of the show would be mainly comedic, combined with being a little bit of a mockumentary, one example of an enigma could be an episode about one of the characters getting up from a Zoom call, but leaving the camera on with him walking around and doing things in his underwear, and the rest of the characters trying to get his attention. Additionally, it could show the characters and follow the cast on their adventure, like leaving home and preparing to leave home. And one episode could be about running out of toilet paper and trying to prepare by sewing homemade masks. And in this episode, the character could show their difficulties by going out with their hands covered in band aids because of how many times they stab themselves while sewing. Um, and furthermore, I'd like it to follow a similar path to like Orange is the New Black, where every episode puts an emphasis on one character rather than the cast as a whole. And by telling the individual story and every character getting their due diligence, it creates a tighter bond emotionally between the audience and the characters. The truth is that I would mainly be following archetypes and tropes that are similar to the Office. I would have a confident yet goofy leader slash manager of the business, who could be played by someone like Jim Carrey. I could have the survivalist and the hardcore individual who's also equally as goofy, played by somebody like Jack Black or Zach Galifianakis. Or you have the supremely intense and serious upper management boss, played by David Cross. And then you have the somewhat moderately normal like work couple, played by John Cryer and Anna Faris. And so it would follow a similar guideline to The Office, yet being unique in the fact that it would be set up from at home. And another joke, like as far as a character, could be that there's another person who works at the office that the character or that the audience never sees because they have bad Wi-Fi connection and they can never get the video call to work, and things like that. Um, So, luckily, the open nature of the show with the individual characters allows a lot of free reign with each story, and the family members could be different in each episode, or we could get introduced to new family members like a crazy grandma played by somebody like Betty White or whatever that kind of trope is. And it's very open ended. And the truth is, I think the target audience of this show would be anybody looking for a laugh right now. While the humor might be a little more on the childish or unsophisticated side of things, I think that it could appeal to anybody who's ultimately just looking for a mindless and fun show to watch during their own time in quarantine. Additionally, I think that it could appeal to millions of people across the world right now. Everybody's making the strange transition to being entirely online, And to show that they're not the only ones having problems adjusting and learning something entirely new, I think is important. The show would have to very finely walk the line of being respectful of the tragedy that's happening right now, and I don't mean to make light of this, but I would hope that it would also be able to instill a level of hope within people. I think that one of the main values that the show would be able to represent would be that of family and friendship. Um, the show is based entirely on the interaction of characters with their families and with their friends, and if we were able to show that, like, friendship and deep human connection is still feasible, even though we can't necessarily see them in person or have close human interaction, I think that it could give some hope to those who are stuck in isolation, and it might help people feel better. And, like, another value would be one of the main problems right now is fear, and to act somewhat ironically in the face of a virus by having both fearless and petrified characters, we can show the importance of staying informed and really understanding what's going on. I think that an audience would choose to watch this because it's representative of current life, and if it were to appear after quarantine, it would allow people to reflect back and understand just how crazy of a situation we're currently living in. So I think that it could be really, really important in our modern culture, and I hope that other people would feel the same and that other people would decide to watch. Thanks.